Today's video is going to be all about my hits and misses of 2023. So if you want to find out more, then please keep on watching. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you're visiting. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Hayley and I review fragrance. So I thought it would be a fun idea to film my hits and misses of 2023. Now, I've already filmed my best new releases of 2023, so I thought I would include different fragrances in this video for my hits section at the very least. So I am going to be doing 5 hits and 5 misses. And I'm going to start on a positive note, even though I know some of you will want to see what the misses are, but I have to start off on a positive note. But before we get started, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. If you don't already, of course, I would love you to join this amazing fragrance community that has made me so happy this year. So without further ado, let's get started on my first hit of the year. And that is a very new release from Jousset, and it is Le Gourmand. And I know this is so new to my collection, but I had to include it in my hits of the year for how unique this scent profile is. Gabby from Gabby Loves Perfumes sent me a sample of this one and I ordered it almost instantly when it came back in stock. Now, this smells like hazelnut chocolate spread, or Nutella if you've ever tried that, on buttery warm toast, white bread specifically. Now you're probably thinking, Hayley, why would I want to smell like chocolate spread on toast? I don't know, but I do at the very least. This is one of the most delicious chocolate fragrances in my collection. This is an ultra gourmand. It's an edible gourmand. And for that reason, I have to put it in my hits of the year just because of how unique this one truly is. Yeah, you are getting hazelnut chocolate spread. It's a milky chocolate with creamy yet buttery hazelnut. I do get a slight toast accord. It's not necessarily bread-like, but it brings me back to a time in my life where I used to have a chocolate spread on toast all the time. And for that reason, yeah, this one wins for me. Ultra delicious. If you do love a chocolate fragrance or a chocolate note, and you also love your edible gourmands, then check out this new release because it has my mouth watering as I'm speaking about it. Let's mix it up a little bit and go with something opulent and luxurious. This one is Vanilla Edesia by Electimiss London. This is one of the most spectacular fragrance launches of the year. This smells like quality. It is refined, it is opulent, and this is the meaning of luxury perfumery in my opinion. Now, the name Vanilla Edesia, to me, this isn't a vanilla forward fragrance. This is a really refined, opulent vanilla, but it's not gourmand, it's not sugary sweet. Instead, this is very complex, it's very floral. It's quite hard to describe, there's a lot going on in here. It's also very spicy. So I'm getting cumin. I'm getting some type of like nutmeg. It's a very, very spicy vanilla floral, and it is absolutely magnificent. This is a luxury perfume that actually smells luxurious and that I think is worth the price tag. If you can get a sample of this one, I would highly recommend you do so. But just note, this isn't a vanilla fragrance as you know it. This is something quite different, and I would definitely recommend you sample before purchasing. But yeah, this is a special new release and it has to be in my hits of the year. Another huge hit for me is Celeste by Giardini di Toscana. I started off raving about 2 of the other fragrances from this house, being Bora Bora and Bianco Latte, but I feel like Celeste has become my favorite of the 3. I love all 3 of them, but Celeste has such a unique quality to it. So I've described this before as having the Bianco Latte DNA right in the dry down. So you're getting a really delicious edible vanilla caramelized base, but in the opening, you're getting this sugared violet or this candied violet, which makes this really unique to my nose. It has that same beast mode projection and performance that Bianco Latte has, but this time it smells a little bit, I want to say elevated, and I mean that in the nicest way because Bianco Latte is a straight up vanilla fragrance to my nose, whereas Celeste is just that little bit more complex, and I feel like it's super, super addictive. There is a lot of violet, or should I say there's lots of powderiness within this composition, but it's still really sweet and wearable. And I do think this is a unique composition and definitely one of the hits of 2023 to me, at least anyway. Next up is Mula Mula Double Caramel by Byron. This one had to feature in my hits because this is such a fantastic, alluring, sexy gourmand fragrance with a twist. So if you've ever tried the original Mula Mula, it still has that DNA. You get Mula Mula from the opening, but it's got an amped up level of caramel in there. And don't get me wrong, I love the original Mula Mula, but I have fragrances that smell similar to that already in my collection, such as Xerjoff Le Capitale, Venom Incarnate by Stefan Humbert Lucas. So this just adds a little bit more of a gourmand touch to that original DNA. And I think this one is incredibly sexy. This one is sweet, it's daring, it's alluring, it's fruity, floral, and I would highly recommend checking this one out if you like those types of scent profiles. Now, if I was to pick one of the three, so you've got Mula Mula, you've got Mula Mula Rouge Extreme, and then you've also got the Double Caramel, I would personally pick Double Caramel because I like my fragrances quite sweet, but I also do like them to have some depth, and that is why this is my favorite out of the trio. But honestly, I feel like you can't go wrong with any of those three if you're looking for a super sexy fragrance that's also very sweet. And the last hit that I want to talk about before I move on to the misses is Sonic Flower by Room 1015. This is one of my favorite iris kind of musky fragrance launches of the year. This one is sophistication in a bottle. It's almost like that clean aesthetic vibe, but it's elevating it a little bit to smelling more like perfume. It's not necessarily smelling like fresh laundry or fresh out of the shower. There is a little bit of depth here too. You're getting almost an iris orris kind of composition. It's got a little bit of sweetness here. It's also quite floral. I'm getting the purple florals specifically. You've got a sweet musk. And if you love fragrances similar to Glossier You, Clean Reserve Skin, the new LK Musk K, you will probably absolutely love Sonic Flower. There's a pepperiness to this as well. It's definitely one of my favorite releases of the year. I haven't worn this one for a couple of months. This is more like a spring summer scent to me. You can wear this one all year round, but I reach for these kind of clean, musky iris scents more in the spring and summer personally. But still, without a doubt, it's one of my favorite releases of this year. Who's ready to hear my fragrance misses of the year? Please bear in mind, this is just my opinion. If you love these fragrances, please keep rocking them. We all have different experiences with fragrances. We perceive them differently, and they also pull different depending on our skin chemistry. I am not saying these are bad fragrances. I am just saying they were misses for me. So without further ado, my first miss of the year is Xerjoff Erba Gold. Now, this is still very new, but I had to mention this one first because I am one of those people that is not a fan of the original Xerjoff Erba Pura. Unfortunately, the musk that they use in that fragrance pulls extremely screechy for me, and I don't like it. But I do understand that so many people love it too, and they don't get that screechiness from it. So please don't take offense to this. Now, with Erba Gold, I will say I think it's better than Erba Pura to my nose. It is more creamy, that is for sure. And the musk is not as intense or not as screechy to my nose. But that being said, I still definitely get the Erba Pura DNA in there, but it's a better version of Erba Pura to my nose. But it's still a big miss for me because I won't wear it, I wouldn't buy it, it's not my kind of thing. It still does pull screechy to me, just not as much as the original Erba Pura. So I'm sorry to anyone out there that loves this fragrance. It's funny because my best friend, she was like, I went into Harrods and I found my new favorite fragrance and I sprayed it on and I loved it. And she said it was Erba Gold. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I had to tell her that it's not for me. She understands it's subjective, but I just thought it was quite funny because one of her favorite new fragrances is one of my least favorite fragrances. And that just goes to show how subjective this all is, because we do have some crossover in taste. We like the same things, but we can also dislike different things too. Next up is Tom Ford Cafe Rose. Now, I liked the original Cafe Rose, so I don't know if it's just my nose or there was a reformulation, but I do know other people who also liked the original Cafe Rose seem to not like the new version. So I'm of the opinion that it's been reformulated. Of course, I don't actually know that, but I don't know why they changed it. I guess it probably wasn't a bestseller, which is why it got discontinued in the first place, and maybe they tried to make it a little bit more likable or a little bit more mass appealing, but unfortunately it was just a big miss for me. I feel like it was one of those fragrances that was just made for the sake of being made, and it didn't really have too much thought behind it. And this is how I feel about Tom Ford in general. Sometimes one of their fragrances will really impress me, but sometimes I just feel like they didn't need to be released. They were a little bit redundant, and this one is definitely one of the biggest misses for Tom Ford this year for me. But I have to say there are definitely other Tom Ford fragrances that were also big misses for me this year. Next up, oh, I feel bad saying this one, is Maison Crivelli Oud Maracuja. Now, I know this fragrance is loved by people in a similar way to Erba Gold or Erba Pura would be, but for me, there was something about the opening of Oud Maracuja that just did not do it for me. I found it really, really hard to perceive. I found it really jarring to my nose. I guess it was the combination of that passion fruit and that oud. Some people love this one, and I know a couple of people that Oud Maracuja is their signature scent, but I can't get past the juxtaposition between that passion fruit and the oud. It just pulls really, really jarring to my nose, and it almost repels me a little bit, which is really sad to say because I actually really like Maison Crivelli as a house. They do make challenging scents, which is a good thing for me because a lot of their fragrances are very, very unique. Now, I would love to know from you, have you tried Oud Maracuja and what do you think about it? Are you team love, team hate, or maybe you sit somewhere in between? Next up is Maison Francis Kirk de Jean Aqua Media Forte Cologne. I believe that is the full name of it. And don't get me wrong, this one's actually pleasant. I don't dislike it, but I personally feel like this was such a redundant release. Like, it didn't need to be released in my opinion. They already have fragrances that smell a little bit similar within their Cologne Forte collection. And yeah, it is just redundant. That's all I have to say about it. It doesn't smell bad. It actually smells pleasant, but was it needed? I don't think so, and I'm just going to leave it there because I have nothing else to say about it, good or bad. I could have included so many more misses in this video. If you do want to see a part 2, I'm happy to do something in January, but the next fragrance that was a miss for me is from Hermes, and it is the Tutti Twilly or Twilly Tutti. This one was actually quite repulsive to my nose. I've heard people say they really enjoy this one, and from the notes, I was really expecting to enjoy it because I was like, yay, lychee, and the original Twilly DNA is very, very nice. But something, again, was very jarring to my nose. It smelled like a mixture of bubble gum of some type and this really jarring, almost green, screechy quality. I guess it could be the musk that's used in here, but even the lychee, I was hoping it was going to be like super juicy, that with the ginger, but it pulled like bubblegum, I guess a tutti frutti bubblegum mixed with some screechiness. So that one was unfortunately also a miss for me. Please do let me know if you are a fan of the new Tutti by Twilly. I would love to hear your experience if you are and what you perceive it to smell like. But unfortunately, this one was a big miss for me, especially as I was super excited to try it based on the notes alone. So those were all of the hits and misses that I wanted to go through in today's video. As I mentioned, I'm also happy to do another video on some of my other misses of the year because there were quite a few. There were so many releases in 2023. Even on my hit side, I've still got a big list of fragrances that I absolutely loved, but I thought this would be a fun video and I hope you enjoyed it. But what I would love to know is, what were your hits and misses of 2023? Please do let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope you have a wonderful day, whatever you are doing, and I hope to see you in a future video. Thank you and goodbye.